Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4. We're going to be on board the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R, the endurance modified version, in this terrific track of Kyalami for the endurance race of the final mode of the Kyalami Master Cup of Ride 4 career mode. It's the final game mode, it's the final section to complete this particular track, and this will give us a achievement, and this will also give us esteem and prestige of being a Kyalami Master, as one would say. Of course, did the time trials a few days ago, and of course done the other parts of this master group, and I must say I thoroughly enjoy this track. I thoroughly enjoy the layout, the speed, the undulation. One of the best tracks I've ever used in this game, one of the best tracks probably ever to be made. Terrific stuff. Really impressed. So may I suggest, if you aren't prepared for this endurance race, that you pause the video now, go and grab your favourite beverage, maybe your favourite bag of crisps, and chill out and listen to me commentate this magnificent and interesting endurance race. And I say that because out of all the endurance races, they're pretty much elementary. We know what's going to happen, but this one, I don't think we're prepared for it. You know, it's good. Out of all the endurance races we've done, this was definitely my most favourite. Starting off in a wet but not rainy, so it's relatively humid and dry in the air, 24 degrees in the air, and this track is quickly drying, and this always gives us an opportunity to try something new. Now in the game it still bugs when it's the other way around. If you start the race on slicks and then you want to change to wet, it's usually bugged and you cannot do it. As we admire the Kawasaki Ninja, absolutely gorgeous bike. Using my custom suit and then the custom Johnny Ray helmet. I'm not sure who made that. I keep saying this in like every video that I should really pay attention and give the shout out to the person who deserves it. So I will learn from this and I will remember to do that in future videos. As we make a massive mistake! Screw you, DrAce, for not getting the name of the helmet. Have a low side crash instead and lose the rear into barbecue. Carnage has happened already, and we're just 2 minutes into this one, 2.5 minutes to be precise, and already we've binned it. What a mistake from the man who's almost won 285 wins on Ride 4 now. Checked the stats yesterday and that's what it said. So that's a lot of wins, and what a way to dump it here. And if you're wondering as well about online races, I think I have 11 wins out of 27. I don't remember if that's true or it's something like that, which is not too bad. I think I'm going to have to do some more online races to try and better that, but still. But I must say, on this wet track with this bike, I didn't feel very confident. I was trying to keep the bike relatively close to the others, and keep it relatively interesting, of course, without me just shooting off or falling behind too much. And I actually ended up making that big mistake, and therefore, we have a lot of catching up to do on this drying track. Because then the next question is, who's going to gamble first? Who's going to be the big brain guy to say, tell you what, we'll jump in the pits now or whenever? I don't think the track is dry enough yet to jump into the pits, but always keep that in the back of your mind because you never know what's going to happen. With a race that still has 36 minutes remaining, anything could happen. Literally anything. So I haven't touched the fuel yet, by the way. Don't know whether we should bump it up to try and chase down Charlize Roux or Nico Raicher as Jackson Rigth. I still never found out whether that's a typo and it should be Jackson Wright, or if Jackson Rigth is actually a surname. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows and who cares, because it's the Australian man who's leading this Grand Prix so far. The Finnish and the South African are further ahead of us on track by about 4 seconds, and as you can see, that gap is remaining as it is. Now usually when we sort of fall behind, the gap just deteriorates very quickly because we go for that second gear, that sort of second win that we always get. And of course I'm usually holding back in these races to keep it more interesting and more entertaining for you guys. What interesting start. It's certainly not what I expected, and I don't think you guys expected this either, so if you're onto your second bag of crisps, I admire your tenacity. And I tell you what, I can't wait to have a bag of crisps myself. And if you're American, of course, do apologise, because you'll be referring to them as chips. So I do apologise. But I must say I love that sort of variance and difference between our nationalities, as I'm completely off topic of the endurance race. Something we're well acquitted with now, I'm sure. Something I tend to do more often than not. Just ramble and talk nonsense. But nonetheless, into crocodiles for the third time of asking. Pretty nicely executed there, not too bad. Learning turn 11 all the time. Bearing in mind, this is actually after I did the time trial. So, if I'd done the endurance race first, and then tackled the time trial, probably would have had better results. That's just an observation, but you never know. I'm going to say that is possible. I do believe I could better my time a lot more if I used the Ducati Panigale, but I refused to use the Ducati again. I wanted to use the Kawasaki for the time trial. The R1 is going to come in Nürburgring, because I spoke to Ikai about that the other day. Oh, big mistake there into the Yoseki sweep, but nonetheless we're still okay. As you can see, the bike though, it just keeps flicking around on this track. And it's not appreciating the wet weather, this combination of rain tyres. Charlize Roux, South African, his home Grand Prix. It's not the homecoming he would have wanted at the second to back of the grid. Well, we have caught up this bit of bunch now, these bunch of riders. And Charlie Roux is going to be our first one on the hit list. He'll be first eliminated from our onslaught and charge to the top positions. Let's make a bit of a mistake there, and we're going to earn our first penalty time. Absolutely bloody hate getting the penalty, but it is what it is. I should be better next time, and maybe I won't get a penalty. As we try and make a move now onto Charlize. Brilliantly done. I don't think he appreciated us picking him up in that corner. Well, as far as I'm concerned, he should have known we were coming. We had the speed. We're on board the Kawasaki. We've got the bollocks. We've got the patience. We went for it. Simple as. Has tried to go for Rachel there, but it didn't happen. But turn 11 looking cleaner again. It was definitely looking a bit cleaner than we did with the Kawasaki Ninja. It's contact made! Charlize Roux! Damn, that was rude! He really didn't appreciate that move from early. The AI, with a bit of a bitter taste in its mouth, decided to fight back. That was for Johnny Glamour, I swear to God. Hashtag Johnny Glamour in the chat. Still not seen Johnny Glamour in God knows how long. I need to get back to doing British tracks. We need to see the Glamour. The Glamour. Johnny Glamour. The man with all the girls. Johnny Glamour. I love how Johnny Glamour has become a staple of this channel. Someone... if there is a Johnny Glamour that follows me on anywhere, on any sort of social media, God bless you. What a name. But back to the business at hand. Charlize Roux. You little bugger. That was an aggressive move. Now, did I leave a gap? Potentially. Did I leave a gap for 30 minutes left in a Grand Prix? No. Did I leave a gap that was worth taking on lap 4 of 5 so far? Or it's going to be about 25 laps towards the end of this Grand Prix. No, I don't think so. It was a last lap lunge, that one. As he's sort of picking me up in the corner again as I get a little bit too close to Charlize. Not sure what his problem is here. But I don't think I've ever seen an AI with this much of a vendetta towards me. He really didn't like that move, did he? So we're going to make the move now into the crocodiles. I think that's clean as you like. Surely there's no arguments there. Into turn 11. Now let's try and keep away and leave no gap for Charlize this time. As we... oh, contact made into Nico Rachel. Is Charlize going to take advantage? Oh, he does. But not for long, it didn't matter. We could use the speed of the Kawasaki to get past Rachel as well here. Obviously, I'm not going full throttle, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, because I just hate it when you just overtake on the straights with no effort whatsoever. I'd rather try and attack them on the brakes. 120% AI difficulty is just not enough for the ace. It's not enough for most of the YouTubers, to be honest with you. There's one of my cats has just walked in. So if there's any disturbance, that'll be why. The lovely move up on the inside of Nico Rachel. Hopefully you're appreciating that one mid-crunch of your crisps. I don't know why I've got in my head that you're having crisps. You're having roast chicken crisps with Tango, as we have a quick look to our right-hand side to make sure Rachel wasn't going to make a move. Jacques Murray defends well into the turn 6 clubhouse bend. 2 South Africans ahead of us here as we like to wheelie a bit out on the exit of turn 6. Now for the S's turn right. Keep holding it. Turn 7. Keep holding it. Hooking it in, as I said last time in the time trial. Oh, a bit wide there. and over that little bit of a rumble strip. I wouldn't advise to do that again. As we now chase down Jacques Murray. Jacques has left a little bit of a gap there, but we couldn't take it. Definitely thought about it though, definitely. Always thinking and probing for moves. I like to try and keep it entertaining and keep you on your toes. Most of my moves are choreographed, but this time, that is a beautiful move, a beautiful lunge up at the inside in turn 10, the Crocodiles. Keep an eye out for that barrier on the left-hand side. That's where you want to be braking. That's what you're aiming for. As we now start lap 7. Bearing in mind now, the track looks to be drying pretty quickly. It's still 21 degrees in the air. It's 20 to 7 in South Africa with this magnificent Kyalami track. As we're going to use the speed of the Kawasaki and the brakes. Can we get Karen Jones? I think we can. Karen, wow, excellently done. Decide to say, tell you what, I'll be the last of the late breakers and I will hold you back. I think he's on board the Yamaha. It's hard to see from the angle I'm at. I should, as I said before, I'll probably pay attention to see which bike each rider's on. Give a little bit of more of a personalised feel for each individual AI rider. It's just that they change so bloody often that you never know who's going to be on what. But I really wanted to make a move here into turn 6, but the AI just does not let you get past. The clubhouse bend is definitely an overtaking opportunity for something online because you're aware of each other's presence, but sometimes AI is not so much aware, so it'll probably just batter straight into you. I do think we need to consider pitting very soon now. It seems a bit of a shame to be pitting relatively early because it's only been 12 minutes to this 40-minute endurance race. So we're going to make a move up on the inside of Jones. Excellently done. Jones, take my 9th place and I'll have your 8th. But we are 2 seconds slow, and obviously we have been held back a bit by Karen Jones, but at the same time I do feel we're coming to the end of these tyres. I just don't think they can last much longer on this particular track. When it's a rain tyre, it's not really an intermediate tyre. So it's not really the best of both worlds as we run it a little bit wide there. Definitely think about the pit. Let's go to the pit. Why not? Sabina Ferry's jumped in the pits. We jumped to the pit and Karen Jones has just collapsed. What on earth was she doing? But now it's decision time. What tyres do we go for? We've got 30 minutes left of this Grand Prix. We've gone for a hard rear and we've also gone for a hard front. So I've had a chance to rest the old vocal cords for a couple of seconds, have a bit of a beverage myself, and now it's time to continue with the rest of this Grand Prix. We have 26 minutes remaining, well more so 27 minutes, as we have the slowest pit exit I've ever seen. And now it's time to go full throttle, so I'm not going to lie, this one had me nervous. We are 30 seconds behind Jacques Murray, and 48 seconds down compared to Jackson Riggs. So, it's going to be tough. And the concerning thing for me was that we didn't immediately make a difference, which I thought we would, considering they're on the rain tyres, heavily worn rain tyres, compared to our slicks. Now, bearing in mind, we have gone for the hard option front and hard option rear. If we went for a softer option compound, we could potentially be quicker, but I like the harder option tyres as it is. So now entering the S's. Now you are going to see some pretty consistent lap times coming up. I found these hard option compound with this endurance bike, it was just bliss. I went straight into the zone. I didn't even realise that the rest of this Grand Prix had finished by the time it got to where it was. But for the time being, we're concentrating on now as Denise Gluck has just entered the pits. So she has entered the pits, so has Jacques Murray. So that's something to bear in mind, because we will be seeing riders on the track in front of us very, very soon. And as you see in the bottom left-hand corner, the graph, the track layout, as you can see, we are quite far behind as we make a little bit of a mistake into turn 11. So we have massive ground to make up. As Adriana Torres is also in the pits as we now move up to 6th place. Adriana Torres is probably leaving the pits. There she is to the left-hand side. Thank you, I'll take your 6th place, if you don't mind. And as you can see, Karen Jones has entered the pits after crashing out early, so I think she missed the pit early when she crashed. I'm guessing that's what happened. Regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter because, yeah, who is Karen Jones? You're at the back of the grid in your home Grand Prix. You have a lot of work to do. And so do we, actually. 45 seconds down on Jackson. Bearing in mind, he does have to pit at some point soon, unless he's going to just absolutely madman it and stay on the rain tyres for the rest of this Grand Prix. Highly doubt that's going to happen, but approaching the halfway point, this is the point of pitting. And I think for a DrAce first, that was the very first time we were the ones to jump into the pits first. Now, there was a couple of riders ahead of us who jumped in the pit, but I didn't actually notice them at the time. I'd already made the decision to pit. So I'm going to say that is a first for us to decide to pit. Now, mentioned just as well, Jackson Riggs, the couple of other South Africans that were leading this Grand Prix have also decided to pit now. There's Christian Bento and Juan Lewis. And, you know, it takes Juan to know Juan, so Juan jumped into the pits, and that is an old joke, but I made it again. As Yolanda Ventura Cavallo has also pitted, so I think everyone has pitted now. The person in 5th place, Charlize Roux, has also entered the pits. So all 5 riders who are ahead of us have decided to pit. Are we doing a masterstroke here? Is this going to be an absolute masterstroke? Master Technician DrAce, calculated to perfection. We are going to probably get past them before they even leave the pit straight. Not quite, maybe. Oh, we're getting really close. I was paying too much attention to Jackson Riggs, but that is genius. That is calculation and execution to perfection. Usually on this channel, my ideas tend to go as the operation was a success, but the patient died. But I'm pleased to say that the operation was a success and the patient managed to live. As I guess we could be the patient in this one, as we now lead this Grand Prix by 2 seconds. Turn 5 for Sunset, that is beautiful. That's exactly when I say I want to hook into the rumble strip. Pretty much on it, but not all of it on it, if that makes any sense. As we now exit for the clubhouse bend. This is going to be a good lap now. This is concentration personified, as that is a difficult word to say when I'm halfway through a stutter. We have now built a 2-second lead over Jackson Riggs with 22 minutes remaining. 84% of fuel remaining. Tyres are in good nick considering we are kind of thrashing them now. But this is the part where I decided to just get completely lost in the zone. This made it probably one of my favourite endurance races because of the zone. Now, I've always said when I watched MotoGP and the likes of Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo, even Dovi sometimes when he used to be competitive in MotoGP, that they would just get to the front and then chuck out the most metronomic laps you've ever seen. And it doesn't make any sense to me because I always think, how the hell can you keep so much concentration that long and not veer off at all? You might talk maybe a couple of tenths per second that they will just differ. I actually found there was the same thing for me. So the first lap is going to be a 1:39.744, and I say the first lap of this sort of concentration mode, because I do recall the rest of this is now pretty much chucking in the fastest and most consistent laps I've ever done. And I guess it did help with us doing the time trial just a couple of days before. It was still very much fresh in my mind. And then of course the Kyalami Master group, where we did the RVS. Shout out to the RVS, by the way, that bike is terrific. Really enjoyed that video, so if you haven't seen that one, I'd suggest watching that after this one, or pause this one, whatever. It's up to you. It's obviously you run your YouTube account however you want to. But we're going to flick it left for the clubhouse bend. A little bit out of shape there, potentially onto the rumble strips, but it's okay. Almost handed an additional penalty there on the exits of turn 6, but it's okay. We weren't handed any more. I do hate seeing that penalty, but it is what it is. It's just so ugly. That massive P. Why is it there? It's like a constant reminder that, you failed, you went off the track. Pin it on me at the end of the track or something, I don't know. So the end of Sector 3 gives us a 0.2 of a second slower compared to the fast lap of the Grand Prix, which is the 1:39.744. Still lots of areas to improve upon, but we are leading this Grand Prix by 4 seconds to the Australian, who has a medium front and a soft rear. Now that's interesting because I've gone for the hard option front and the hard option rear. So is Jackson Riggs' tyre and Juan Lewis tyres going to survive this onslaught of this South African Grand Prix? Another consistent lap time, that's a 1:39.965. Jot these down if you would like, and we can talk about how consistent it is at the end. But I I'm not consistent, to be honest with you. The one downfall with me as a person in general, actually, I'm not very consistent when it comes to concentration. I have a low attention span, and I tend to be distracted pretty easily sometimes, unless I'm really, really focusing on something like I was on this particular track. I do tend to make a few mistakes along the way, and I start sort of veering off with my attention. And I have 2 cats that like to wander in and out of my room and jump on my desk, which is most infuriating. I did an endurance race. I ultimately scrapped in the end because of how many pauses and how many times I had to cut out the pauses in the video. It looked a bit ugly because of all the pauses and whatever. It was an endurance race that I don't think really... I got out to the front and I won. There you go. That was the story of that endurance race. But thankfully Rio decided to sit on the keyboard one too many times. And then there was a couple of breaks in between where I had to go and feed them and to stop her from just being annoying, I guess. I do love my cat, don't get me wrong. I love both of my cats, but they are a pain in the arse sometimes. Sure, if you have any pets, you will understand. As a gamer, I think it's common for a pet to come in and ruin your fun. I mean, it could be worse. I could have children. That's much worse. That takes a lot more time as well. At least I can go and feed the cat and she'll leave me alone. With a kid, it could be different entirely. There's a bit of a story anyway. Go on to that Q&A session. Ask me anything and all that. There you go. I don't have a kid if you were wondering. But that is a great lap time. 1:39.102. That was 5/10, so more 6.5 tenths quicker than our previous lap time, which was the second fastest. And of course the fastest lap was being on the just lap before it for Yoseki sweep. Hold it left, keep holding it as you get up to turn 4 barbecue, still on the left hand side of the tyre. I am surprised at how well this track is sort of orientated, because none of the tyres seem to heat up too quick. Because there's a nice even amount of right-handers and left turns that neither tyre has to get so much hotter, so much quicker. I don't even know if they're asymmetrical, but it's a very, very good track. I can't speak highly enough of this track. If you haven't for any reason decided not to download it or to purchase it, then I would strongly suggest that you have a look into it. I'm really loving it. I know I've got a good couple of friends who have been riding it as well. And I think even Robbo46 has been doing a lot of this track as well, so good to see. Kyalami is a good addition for us. As always, I guess you could argue the fact that Milestone have decided to put a good track behind a paywall, but to be honest with you, isn't that gaming nowadays? And I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm certainly not saying I agree with it at all. Gaming back when I was growing up was much better. You sort of got the game, you played the game, you finished the game, moved on. Now it's a case of you have to keep coming back to some of these games. But it's actually a good thing for Ride 4 because it evens out the content. Especially for the content creators like myself. We've always got something new to look forward to when it comes into gaming. So speaking of which, as DLC stands, today is the 13th when I'm recording this video. 13th of January, if you're watching this sometime in the future, hello. Have we got flying cars yet? But long story short, the DLC pack for Ride 4, which is the DLC Sport pack, which is the bonus pack number 3, and an amazing sport bike to your collection, it says. And that comes out the January the 19th, and that is a free DLC. No idea what that bike's going to be. Let me know in the comment section below if you have intel, or if you fancy a bit of a guessing game. I'm going to guess it's going to be a Ducati. No idea why, but I'm just going to chuck it out there. I probably should look into it and see what bikes have come out this year, and then sort of gauge what it's going to be. I mean, the last bike pack we got, which was it included the Super Veloce and the Triumph Daytona Motor 2 765. Fantastic. There was some of the best bikes in the game in that pack. Was that the Endurance pack? No, the Endurance pack was a separate bike, and that bike was pretty bad. But the Katana was also a great bike to use. Of course, we did the time trial on that one, the world record. I think I still hold that, but of course it's changed now to the other bike. But I'm always keen to see what else we can do, as we have 15 minutes remaining of this endurance race. That has gone so quick. It might just be me, but I think this one's gone so quick, as we almost lost the rear there into Cheetah. Back to focusing, I think, and maybe back to full concentration mode. Good to see I didn't wheelie on this bike too much. Of course, my electronic settings are still the same, as that is a very close lap there of a 1:39.116. The goal is to get into the 1:38s with this Kawasaki. But my electronics are as follows. Engine brake on 2. anti-wheelie on 1, and traction control on 0. So if you are interested, and I always get this question, what is my setup, and can I show the setups? I literally don't change a thing. The only thing I change is the tyres. That's it. I don't change the suspension, I don't change the gearing, and I don't change the braking bias. I don't change any of that. The only game I've tended to change that in was MXGP 2020, and even then I've done some more research on that one. It doesn't even make a difference, so I don't know. I understand that a lot of you guys swear by settings, that you have to change it and you feel that it makes a massive difference, but it doesn't matter to me for some reason. I don't know whether I don't know why, whether I'm just not that in tune with the bikes to notice a difference, but my lap times never differ. I don't know. They don't make any sense to me. But I see loads of videos recommended to me about settings and stuff like that. Or Ride 4 hot lap settings for this, hot lap settings for that. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any difference to me. I can try it, but it doesn't change anything. I find that the preset is just the best one for me. I still don't understand why that is. I really don't. My riding style seems to be just as smooth as it is with being on the presets compared to a modified version. But that is our first 138 lap, a 138.344. That was quite a phenomenal lap actually, and I don't believe I can get any better than that. 137 is probably going to be out of reach. But I'm really happy with the 138.344. That's a very consistent pace. As you can see, the lap time has just done nothing but increase into improve. Of course, the lap time would technically decrease because of the time variant. And of course, 13 seconds up the road from Jackson Rigg. Not even going to try and calculate how many bike lengths that is. It's going to be a lot. But 13 minutes remaining, 45% left of fuel, 47% on the rear tyre, 75% on the front tyre. Degradation's not too bad. I think we've got this in the bag. I can't imagine Jackson Rigg or Cristiano Bento deciding to pull in some kamikaze laps and sort of chase us down. It's going to have to be something pretty phenomenal, unless we make a big mistake. Of course, that is always a thing. But I will say, actually, this has been one of my most cleanest races. I've still, apart from the crash at the beginning, there has still been no more mistakes. I've not ran off, I've not gained any more penalty, and most importantly, we haven't crashed. Good stuff so far. Of course, commentary took curse. I just know it's going to happen, and I'm probably going to end up binning it somewhere. So keep an eye out if I do end up binning it. Of course, guys, as well, why we've got a bit of a break in the action as well, with leading this Grand Prix by 14 seconds. A 138.835, so there we go. We were struggling to get into 138s, and yet we're already there twice now. But I was going to mention, just if you have any more video suggestions, always let me know. Comment section is available and free for you guys to all to make a comment and let me know your opinions. Let me know any suggestions. Do appreciate everyone who comments and takes the time. Of course, follow me on social media as well. Instagram, Twitter, DrAce461. Instagram being DrAce_461. But you can find all this out in the link down below into the description box. I don't know if you guys actually use the description box, but I do end up trying to write a few things in there. I usually just leave links to sort of important videos and guides. So if you ever are interested, all my content is there. Also have the DrAce Ride 4 playlist as well, so if you're ever wanting to binge the Ride 4 series that I've got, you can just click onto that playlist and it will play every single Ride 4 video I've done. I think I'm going to have to probably make a new playlist that has just the guides. A new playlist that just has maybe test rider stuff, and then the world records one, and just time trials in general. That's a, you know what? Speaking to future DrAce, when I edit this video, do that. That's a great idea. I'll leave that in for you guys as well, so you can hear me. That's sometimes what I do. I leave little notes in the editing, so when I remember, I like sharing little stuff like this. You might not care, and you might just want to talk about the race, but if you happen to be invested into me and what I do end up talking to myself into the future by leaving little notes in the recording. Also, I make sure I edit things out, because in the past I remember doing one of the guide videos and I made a huge mistake. I left like a massive chunk of video that I didn't even delete. And it was just me talking to myself and kicking off because I couldn't get this particular lap correct. It was so embarrassing. I think even the cat was annoying me and I was shouting I know you cannot find that video because I deleted it. As we wheelie out to Yuseki's sweep for the final 10 minutes of this Grand Prix. This has flown by. Amazingly, I'm still actually under the weather as well, so I've done my best to keep it entertaining and to keep us going. Paused every time I needed to cough or sneeze, and then we're still going. It's been one of those years, 2021 already for me. Been ill all the way through it. And I have had a COVID test, so nobody needs to panic. I am negative, so it's nothing like that. I've just got a cold. So don't worry if you are worried. The front tyre has lost a lot of temperature. Maybe it's not being pushed enough, because I've sort of taken the finger off the acceleration a little bit to run it a little bit cooler. But we are on 30% of fuel. I don't know if that's going to be okay. Something to bear in mind just for the latter stage of this Grand Prix. It's a big moment there into turn 9 as we hold it right now for crocodiles. I will say, after doing this endurance race, I feel poised and ready to attack this lap again for a potential world record attempt. Because I feel like I know the track like the back of my hand now. I'm really getting to learn it. Turn 11, turn 10 are still enigmas, but we will get there. If you're having trouble on this track, check out the time trial I did just a few days ago. Try to break it down for you. But that is our first lap. It's concerning. It's less than 2 seconds slower, but the other laps were pretty consistent and very fast. And we do have a 17-second lead to Jackson Rigg. The podium positions hasn't changed. This has been very much an as-you-were race. I guess endurance race can be like that sometimes. But as it looks, we're all roughly on the same sort of things now. We're all on the same sort of fuel, and us having actually our tyre degradation might be similar for us having the hards and them having the mediums and the soft, because we were on the hards a good 3 or 4 laps before they were. Something to bear in mind, something to mention. Little things like that is what keeps endurance races interesting. Anything can happen. Any rider can win. Any rider could lose. Everything's up for grabs. We're actually closing in on one of the back markers there, 12th place. I hope that's not Charlize Roux, because I don't ever want to see him again on this track, because he's a kamikaze. I don't want to start battling with him towards the end of this Grand Prix. So we're now back in the business now. Only a tenth slower than our fastest lap of the race, which is a 1:38.344. A little bit out of shape there for turn 10 of the crocodiles, as we have now approached a new day. It's 10 minutes past midnight, 15 degrees air temperature in South Africa. Nice usage of the rumble strip there, just to guide us in towards Ingwe. Turn 12. Seems odd that there's only 12 corners. Feels like there's a lot more. But here it is, another 1:38. A 1:38.636. Back into the consistent zone again. 20 laps, just like that, has completely flown by. Really, really good stuff. Of course, speaking of endurance races, I have unlocked the Endurance League. I've got about 7 or 8 endurance races to do, I think it is, in the final league. Same applies for the Superbike leagues as well. I prefer the endurances to the Superbike league races because, well, they're like 11, 12 laps, but you don't get the chaos of the pits, which sometimes occurs. But at the same time, if you've done a 40-minute Grand Prix to lose it on like the final lap, that's another 40 minutes of your life dedicated to Ride 4. I think Ride 4, as of today, has actually beaten MotoGP 20 on my Ride 4 gameplay. So in the term of hours, I think Ride 4 I played more than MotoGP 20, which has never happened before. MotoGP always beats out Ride every year. But for this year, it's a bit of a surprise, as we make our first mistake in quite a while now. With 6 minutes of this Grand Prix remaining, a little bit of a mistake there, so we will not be improving our lap. But we are going to lose about 2 seconds to Jackson Rigg. I don't think it's anything to prick his eyes up or prick his ears up about, but still, something to mention. As the lap is immediately... Oh, big moment out to crocodiles. Steady on, DrAce, would you? Past on again! Oh my goodness, calm down. Bloody hell. What, 5 minutes remaining in this Grand Prix. We have 15% of fuel. And at the time of this video, I did not realise that. So you can see where I'm going with here. So there's already been another pitter. Is that Jacques Murray? It is Jacques. So Jacques Murray's decided to go into the pit as we make a bit of a hash into Crawthorne there. And the massive contact! Why? Shax Murray, the South African, with the aggression coming out of the pit. You're in 12th place, Sunshine. What's your problem? Have 8. Get out of the way. I can't believe that. Surely the blue flags were waved. Checking to make sure he's not going to kamikaze me off this Kawasaki. We could technically be teammates. We're both on the Kawasaki Ninjas. Not appreciating the aggression from Jacques Murray. So we're going to give him a hard nudge here as we make our way through the S's. Don't attack me again, Sunshine. Of course he's coming out of the pits. He's got faster tyres. He's probably got more fuel. Of course he can dash past me at any point, but there's no need for the aggression. We don't do that here, come on. We're not one for the aggression, although I just did sort of engage in aggression myself. But it's now time to look down to the bottom right hand corner. We have 10% of fuel remaining with 4 minutes left. Did we lose about 3 or 4% of fuel? Yeah, there you go. I have realised, and it's now time to drop it down. I'm going to get out of the way of Jacques Murray because I do not want him to come and kamikaze me. So I'm going to try and move out of the way in a second because I really don't fancy him being anywhere near me, just in case he makes a big mistake. And I also want to try and save some of this bike now, so 6 seconds slower, but don't really need to worry about that. Everyone is in the pit. Do we have enough time to pit? Should we pit? 8% of fuel remaining for 3 minutes left. Low on fuel, make a pit stop. Yes. Oh my goodness. Jackson Riggs has pit. Jackson Riggs has pitted. We should be fine. But now Juan Lewis is there. Juan Lewis is hanging on. He's got 16% of fuel. He's got full tank compared to us because we are running that low. What is going to happen here? We're down by 3 seconds. We still have 3 minutes of this Grand Prix remaining. 22 laps in. What on earth do we do now? Can we survive this onslaught? 7% of fuel remaining. I should have been paying attention. This is what I mean by being into the zone. Charlie Roo's there. I do not want a piece of Charlie Roo. You can go, mate. I do not want anything to do with Charlie Roo. As we're now making another mistake. Panic stations now. 2.5 minutes remaining of this session. 6% of fuel. Taking it really steady, trying to figure out what the hell I can do now. It's panic stations. It's panic. I'm worrying now. 7 seconds slower. But of course we can't rest on our laurels too much because Juan Lewis, I can't even say his name, Juan Lewis is going to come. This is just crazy. What are we going to do? What on earth can we do now? This is just pandemonium. If you have any fingernails left after this one, then you haven't been biting them enough. My goodness. We have less than 2 minutes remaining. We're going to have to just try and last. It's 5% of fuel. Our whole lap time is around 1:38. If we hold off and lose a 10 seconds, we'll be able to finish on this lap of lap 23. But we only have 4% of fuel remaining. Juan Lewis has pitted. Juan Lewis has entered the pit. We should be fine now. But we decided not to pit, so what on earth do we do now? 4% of fuel. Oh my god, what do we do? We have no choice. We're going to have to continue this lap. But do we rest on the throttle, or do we just continue to absolutely rag it, or what? We're on eco mode, and it's 3% of fuel. We're not even halfway around this track yet. Oh, it's just low on fuel. Make a pit stop. I know it's screaming at me at this point. Checking to make sure there's no one behind me. There clearly isn't. At this point, I think I was just worrying. We are a minute ahead up the road from Jackson Riggs, but it doesn't really matter right now, because if that bike goes kaput, it's over. And that'll be 40 minutes wasted. What a finish this could be. We're going to have to try and hang on. I'm going to try and use the clutch. Will that help? Just clutch in. Let us just roll down the hill. I don't even know if that's going to kill fuel. No, we can finish this, I'm sure. 2% of fuel. Just take it steady. Oh my goodness. And we still have 30 seconds of this Grand Prix remaining. What do we do now? Do we try and hold on and lose 20 seconds? We're going to have to. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to just wait. But the time's running out now. 10 seconds remaining. 2% of fuel remaining. This is going to be close. 1% of fuel. Oh my goodness. I hope we have enough to get across the line. pick up the speed, and if we have to roll across, we have to roll across. You bet, but it doesn't matter, we can wheelie. We have enough fuel to wheelie. DrAce wins. What a magnificent endurance race. What a finish. Ladies and gentlemen, DrAce is your winner. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Ciao for now.